That's the old part of the forms. But with the forms, we received one base, is all we got. Okay? And then Carl learned the 5 base forms of Jimmy. And I believe he was one of the first people, if not one of the only people, that received those. And that was Jimmy linking at least 5 of them together into a larger diamond shape, which was 5 bases. He showed 3 or 4 of those to Carl. And then Carl showed some to me. He showed me how to put them together so that you can create them in a logical way. You're not sure if that's the way they had them in the 1-year form exactly, but at least you know that's a logical way that you can put them together if you want to make a 5-base form. So that's fine. But that was his way of showing how the 1-year forms were linked together. Okay? Now, enough about the forms in that way. The forms themselves were used to show structure. So you were able to learn how to use the circles and the motions, learning how to make transitions here, and make transitions where you could come around, kick, claw, and you're moving from place to place. Not only that, but it taught you how to learn how to use your body for fighting, for techniques, for leverage. Okay? The Fut'Ga techniques, we call some techniques Fut'Ga. We call some techniques Tsoi Lei Hos. We call some techniques, some people in my notes, I have techniques that say Tsoi-Ga, Li-Ga, Tsoi-Ga. And then I have Fut'Ga. Now, the real name of the art is Tsoi Lei Ho Fut. And the 5th family Hong, that came later. That was in China. That was with Jimmy's family. That didn't have anything to do with the original art. Didn't have anything to do with the original material from the monastery or from Tsoi Lei Ho. It was different. It was added later with Jimmy's family. And Hong is a first name. Something maybe people don't know. But Hong is a first name. The rest of them, Tsoi Lei Ho, are last names. Those are family names. Fut means what? Buddha. So Fut was the monastery. Okay? Before Fut, it was Tsoi-Ga, Li-Ga, Hoi-Ga. They were their individual families that had their art. But once it merged together, it became Tsoi Lei Ho. When it went into the monastery, it became Tsoi Lei Ho Fut. That's where it really started to evolve and it started to really take form. And that's why they developed the forms. They developed the forms so they could remember the motions and the ways to move. And then they applied them to Fut'Ga techniques. If you take the Fut'Ga techniques, which are exercises where you're walking up, right? And you're doing these things to people. What you're doing is now, here's the interesting thing. You've got all the moves that you're doing in Fut'Ga techniques. They are coming directly out of these forms. Directly. Specifically out of forms. The forms were there to reinforce the motions within your body so that you're going to be able to do your technique well, right? So the techniques are the exact same types of flowing motion that you have in your forms, okay, in different sorts of order, okay? Because with techniques, you want to be able to change up and move within the context, okay? But when you look at Fut'Ga techniques, here's the interesting thing. Let's go back to this cross here for a second. Okay, we've got this X, and when you were doing your form, your center base was here, and you were moving around. When you do the Fut'Ga techniques, now your opponent is in the center, okay? Your opponent is the man who's within this area here. And what you're doing is you're either stepping in to his center line from the front, you're stepping in from his left side, say he's facing this way, you're stepping in from his right side, you might be coming in from behind him, you might be coming in from the quarters. And any of you guys that have taken Sansu for any length of time, you know that there are certain lessons that have these entrances as the written lesson, coming in from different angles. Now you're the guy who's entering into his circle, okay? When you're doing your form, you're the guy in the middle of your circle. And with the form, the circle, what I mean by circle, it's like a sphere. It's a ball. It's all the way around you. The center of the ball is your 1 point, right? Your center. People call it the chi center. 2 inches below your navel, center of your body. Everything else is coming off of that. Okay, so therefore you may have your north, south, east, and west going this way, and all your quarters. They're coming off here, they're coming off here. But there's also north, south, east, and west going up and down. So I've got a line going straight up, all the way down through my feet. I've got one coming this way. I've got it going this way. I've got the quarters. Here, here. When we do form, look what we're doing. We're shooting to these quarters. Sometimes we're going high, sometimes we're going low, sometimes it's circular. Right? So, with the form, it's a sphere. With the Fut'Ga techniques, what I'm doing, go back to here again. Oh, we should have brought a whiteboard out so we could have written stuff down. Maybe another time we'll do that. Now this guy's standing in the middle, and I'm coming in, and I'm coming into his circle, and I'm manipulating him. So if he's a good Kung Fu guy, he's already in his circle. So he's going to work stopping me from inside of there, which is his form, really. That studying form will teach him to be able to work with whatever's coming based on that, whatever's coming in at him from whatever angle. For me, I'm coming in to manipulate him, and I make this my center. So as soon as I enter into his center, it becomes mine, and I start working off of that. You probably have heard taking away his center. Make your center his, or make his yours, right? Okay, so that's what you're doing here. So this whole concept of these forms ties directly into the whole concept of Fut'Ga. With the angles of Dapga techniques, or the Asus, or where you're angling off and doing combinations, a lot of times what you're doing is you're either stepping off at these quarters and attacking him from here. See what's happening here? You might be stepping here. And then you're striking, and you're coming back with different kinds of combinations here and here. Because here's the third point of your triangle. Or I could be stepping in here and then striking off here. See? Because there would be a triangle here. Okay? That's probably getting a little too confusing for what we're looking at right now. But the whole concept, what I'm trying to show you here is that when Tsoi, Lei, and Ho families got together, they built the monastery 2,000 years ago. They started to develop the system. The system was developed over many generations, primarily by the monks eventually. Okay, and probably those other families had influence for who knows how long, but it became a monastery art. So it became Tsoi, Lei, Ho, Fu eventually. Okay, then you had Jimmy's great-great-great-grandfather, who was the monk, who left the monastery and had the 7 books. And that's how these sets of books came into the hands of that monk, and ultimately into the hands of Jimmy's family, and then it became their family art. So, my question would be, is Tsoi, Lei, Ho, and the techniques that are Tsoi, Lei, Ho techniques, are these techniques different than Fut'Ga techniques? Are they in a different category? I asked my instructor these things, because my instructor has notes that say Tsoi-Ga, Li-Ga, Hoi-Ga, Fut'Ga, and then he's got Dapga techniques, and different things like these. And I asked him, I said, okay, well, why is this Fut'Ga.